separate from the faith. We got to get back to love. If we get back to love, then that's what we to us.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of People Empowerment, where we would strive to change the conditions in our community. Hope everybody out there is blessed today, because I know I am. Today we're going to get right to it. We're going to go over a lot of topics. I did have a special guest coming in today, but unfortunately that guest couldn't make it. So I ran around and got one of the producers that was in the midst of doing one of his shows and got him to come in so we could talk to you guys about some things we've been doing down here at the Apollo. As you know, put a lot of stuff in the mail, on television about the conditions down at the Apollo, and we just want you to know out there that things have been changing. We have been getting some things done, and so here today I have one of the independent Apollo producers here with me, Mr. Kamau Fields. How you doing, Mr. Fields?
I'm thankful, my brother. I'm thankful very much. Thankful for another day. God's blessed me to see.
Amen. Mr. Fields and I are both newly formed members of the Independent Producers Alliance down here at the Apollo. And we have been doing some things. So what we would like to do today is we're just going to fill you guys in on some of the good things that have been happening down here at the Apollo since we formed our Producers Alliance. So the one thing that's going on down here is, number one, we're about to get some new equipment that we've badly been needing. As you know, Kamal, we've been, I don't want to say fighting, but, strongly questioning the things that have been going on as far as the equipment and the facilities here at the Apollo, and, making small waves, not necessarily big waves. And I think that the people who are the powers that be have really been actually listening to us. And I believe that we are working together. What do you think?
Well, you see progress when you work together, and like they say, very popular phrase here, we're better together. So working together does work, and I will believe the new equipment when I see it. I hear a lot of promises. I've heard a lot of promises over the years that we've been here. For those who don't know, public access really is a great resource for the community that the community doesn't really utilize as much as it should. So if you have an idea, if you have a vision, if you have a thought of a program that you'd like to see, this is where that vision, that thought can be realized. So people really need to come on out and make proper utilization of this resource. If you're a church, if you're a community organization, if you record your meetings, if you tape your meetings, those meetings can be converted into programs. So, and there are producers who are experienced here who can help you through that process. But this is a resource that people really should take advantage of. It's part of what's called PEG access, public educational and governmental access. And the way it's been handled lately, they've turned it up on that whole thing on its head. It's government gets the priority, it seems. Education comes in second, and public is last. So we're trying to turn that right side up, turning the world right side up, and put it back so that public access is once again at the forefront. Because none of this would be here if it wasn't for the public and our efforts and our desires to see things to make things happen.
Well, Mr. Fields is absolutely correct. Recently, Mr. Fields, myself, and Vice President of our coalition, Miss Ann Paris, Reverend Ann Paris, we're in the Common Council chambers, and we were discussing the issues at hand with the Common Council. And we thought that it was very important for the community to know what was going on, and that's why we went to the Common Council, so that it could come out in a public forum and everybody could be aware of it. Some people, I believe, don't understand, Kamal, that sometimes we as individuals, we have to step forward and we have to speak truth to power.
Always, our people always know the Bible verse. Our people suffer or perish for lack of knowledge. And what we really need to know is the truth. The truth is the only thing that needs to be known. And as one of the things, as I look back on that session with the Common Council, two things kind of come to my mind. One is that there really needs to be a hearing as to what has happened in terms of public access and what can happen in the future, where we were, where we are, and where we can go. That was one thing. But the other thing that really caught my attention was who the Common Council listens to. When the people began to explain what we're experiencing, they heard it, but not really. And I heard some of the council people started talking about the experts and the professionals. And they really mentioned the director of the Office of Telecommunications, Tom Terapaki, as the expert and the professional. And he's the one that presided over the fiasco and the suffering that we've done for the last, 2, 3, 4 years.
Because
So how
Terapaki's always been in charge.
he's been in charge, and the mayor's really ultimately been in charge. The way the chain of command goes, it's under the Office of Telecommunication, which is all under the Department of Public Works, and that's Steve Stepniak, I think his name, and that's all under the mayor. So ultimately, it's under the mayor, but it goes down the road from that.
Well, yeah, you say ultimately the mayor, but actually the day-to-day goings-on are directed
Tom
by the
Terapaki.
Office of Telecommunications.
Yes.
And pretty much he goes to the mayor with information, and the mayor, I assume, looks over it and,
The
gives
mayor's a
all-
busy man. The mayor's a busy man. I'm just saying that he's ultimately in charge because he can make some changes or make sure that things happen if he would listen to the people.
Well,
But
I believe, I understand what you're saying, and I believe that through everything that's been going on with all the dialogue we've been having with the city and such, that I believe that the next step probably will be for the mayor to come down and sit down and speak with us.
and he's a reasonable person, so I reasonably expect him to do that. But like I say, a lot of promises happen, and you really believe things when you see them actually manifest themselves. But I would love for him and the council people and the public to come on down and see what happens here at the Apollo. The vast majority of this facility is not open to us as the public. That's something that needs to be changed. The hours are limited. We're promised that it will change, and we hope to see it change. And there has been great progress already. I can't deny and would not deny the progress that we've already seen happen. So with the help of some of the people in the staff, many of the people in the staff, and with the consideration of some of the council people, many of the council people, we've seen things progress already. So I don't want to paint too bleak a picture, but there's a lot of room for development.
Well, we can't. Because even though we had issues, for one, let's take Councilman Smith. Councilman Smith has been instrumental, in starting the flow and getting it going, although it's been a little bit slow for us, but he has started the ball rolling. Council President Fontana, he did come down to the facility and do a walkthrough with us where we invited everybody, but he did come down and he did see the necessity down here, and he is addressing it. I would contend that Mr. Fontana as well as Mr. Smith have been striving to help us with these conditions and change it. But one thing they had to say to me and really get me to understand is that things take a little time. And so, I would say to you, gentlemen of the council, and gentle lady also, that I do understand that things take time, but I want you guys to understand one thing. Down at the Common Council, you guys are dealing with multiple issues at any given time. You know what I mean? There's a lot on your plate. Understand this. For us, this is really the only thing that is on our plate. This is our issue. And therefore, we are very passionate about it. So, that's why, Kamau, that, we stay on it. We stick on it. It's not that we want to cause confrontation or confusion, but it's just that we want to really keep people to paying attention to the issues and what's going on down here at the Apollo. And let me just say, just like this show right now, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the website by now. And I would say to you, as I jump in, to please go to the website as we put this issue of people empowerment on it and others, as we're going to keep and continually address what's going on down here at the Apollo, so we can let you guys be aware of the updates and how fast the situation is moving, so that you could see and be aware that we, the people of the city, and government, city officials, can work together. So what do you think? You think?
Oh yeah, working, like I say, working together does work, and you mentioned two of the council people, but I want to give thanks to the additional council people, Pastor Pridgeon, all of them really, because they all have a role to play. We all have a role to play, and they all did lend an attentive ear as we did do our presentation, and I think that they all heard and saw the need, And I wish they can come down and see for themselves the need that we have. And I figure that once we all get on the same page, this place will be as good as it can be, or as good as we would like it to be.
Well, when you mentioned Pastor Pridgeon, and Pastor Pridgeon will be on the show in the very near future on this show. And I guess one of the things we'll be talking about is this. But, I believe that Pastor Pridgeon, especially now that through redistricting, now the Apollo falls within his district, the Ellicott district. So I believe that that he's going to be very passionate about the concerns down here of the independent producers. And everything is geared down here to allowing us to have better productions and better distribution of our productions, our television, TVs, Understand and keep this in mind, that the only fact that this place is even here is that we as citizens, this place enables us to enact our First Amendment right to free speech. Now, that's what this facility is all about. It allows us to put our opinions and what we believe on television, okay, so that everybody can see it. Now, your First Amendment right to free speech is very important. I mean, freedom of speech is very, very important. And if we were to allow, or if society were to allow the voices of the people to be silenced, then that would be the catalyst for change, and I don't believe it would be a good change. So although, sometimes people say that we're confrontational, or that the stuff that we put out on public access isn't necessarily up to par or up to everybody else's, remember, this is individual people, with different personalities, trying to express themselves, and there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Yeah, I hear you. As you were saying, there was a few things that jumped in my head. One of the things that jumped in my head was the idea of freedoms. Freedom of speech is one of the freedoms, and we weren't being confrontational. We were being confident in the strength of our right to say what we had to say. It's not about being confrontational, it's being confident. And we have certain freedoms in this country. And, freedom is a delicate word for people who have for centuries been enslaved and in captivity. And now, even after that captivity, for another 100 years, we were under the boot of Jim Crow. So it was so-called freedom. And even now, when you see elections being stolen under the guise of legalities, so that the will of the people coming out, taking their time to come out and vote, and their wills being subverted, you still wonder about what sort of freedoms there are. But there are certain freedoms that this country has that we enjoy in this country and that we need to exercise more. Freedom of speech is one of them. Freedom of the press, which comes right along with it. Freedom of religion, which we also need to express and stand firm and confident in. And freedom of enterprise, freedom of business. We have to get better at taking care of our own business and not giving our dollar to other people, because our dollar stays in our community less than one time. We get it and we spend it to somebody else, and we need to begin to circulate our dollars among ourselves so we can strengthen our community. And even if you want to deal with that citywide as opposed to just the black community, if you want to deal with that citywide, we in the city need to stop taking our money out to the suburbs, putting it in the suburbanites' pockets, and keep it in the city and strengthen our city and strengthen our community, so that the east side, the west side, the north and south sides of Buffalo can develop and be the kind of places that they once were or will be once again.
Well, I got to say amen to that, brother. Amen to that. You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But it starts somewhere, and it starts with dialogue, and it starts with us, people like myself, people like Mr. Fields, like the other producers here, coming out and speaking forward about the issues of the people. And so we'd like to know, even here on this show, this is a forum for the people. People empowerment is a place where people can talk. And we're going to take a break, and once we come back from the break, then we're going to talk some more about these issues that concern the people. So we'll be right back in a minute. Don't turn that dial. Keep paying attention. Keep paying attention. Keep paying attention, and we'll be right back. Yes, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with People Empowerment, and we're going to continue right through with the program. And so we have a couple of questions here that we like to put on the screen for you people out there. And number one is we would like to know, do any of you out there have a question for city government that you would like answered? What you can simply do is if you have questions or issues with the city, you can go to the website, go to our website, and you can put down what's your issue. You can let us know what your question is, what you'd like addressed. You can let us know your question, and then we'll make sure that we get it to the city in the proper way and get it addressed. You can, like I say, you can go to the website, you can call the telephone, or you can email, but we'd like for you to go to the website. You can look over some of the old shows, and then you can put your issue down. Now, also, if you would like to have your issue addressed on the show, you can also, write us the information about what's going on with you, and then in the future, we could see what we could do about having you come on the show and get your issue addressed right to the people. Okay, so that's something. Now, I'd like to talk about the power of the people. Okay, I'd like to talk about people power, power of the people. It has often been said that together we stand and divided we fall. What does that mean? That means that in times of distress and in times of despair, common people come together, like you and I, Kamau, and we meld together and we stand together, and then from among us, one or two step forward and they lead us back into the right direction, and they fight against oppression, they fight against injustice. And that is what we are in every aspect. We are freedom fighters here. It's about the power of the people. Sometimes you have to come off the sideline and come to the front line and stand up for what you believe in. And I would say to you that from this day forward, that we as citizens of Buffalo, this Buffalo community, that we stop just standing on the sideline and going for anything while everything is going on in our city around us, about us, but it seems like never for us. What you say about that power of the people?
Wow. There's a famous brother who came from Buffalo, and now he's big time in New York City. He was a contemporary of mine in high school. He played football. He was on the radio here as a teenager and went on to do big things in the radio in New York City, Gary Bird. In fact, he was I think one of the first people who did spoken word in terms of record. And he had a piece called, "If the People Only Knew the Power of the People." If the people only knew the power of the people. Very powerful piece. And the people united will never be defeated. And people know that. And that's why they keep us with the only tactic that the enemy has ever used.
Separate and conquer.
Divide and rule. It's their only plan. So, there are people who have vested interest in seeing us not know the power of the people. But as far as we're concerned, we can only do good if we work together. Working together works, and like the saying goes, like I said before, we are better together.
We are absolutely better together. You see, people should understand that, especially, and I want to say this to our elected officials, nobody in particular, I'm talking to all of you. We as people, we come together and we elect you because we believe in you. We believe in what your platform is. We believe in the dream that you seem to exhibit and you seem to exude for the people. And then a lot of times we put you in the office, we elect you in the office, and then even though initially you may have been for doing the right thing, it seems that many times, more than not, it just turns out bad. Okay, and the very people that we elect to defend us, to stand up for us, to speak truth and justice to powers that be, turn out to be the people that destroy us, that backbite us, that keep us down. And so I would say to you from now on, especially when we talk about power of the people, that we would stop from this point on electing people just because they look like us, because they talk like us, because they walk like us. Let's elect people because they have visions like us, because they dream like us, because they believe in moving forward with the future and helping the people like us. And I would say that, elections are coming up again in this city. They're coming up. And there's going to be a time when people like you, when people like me, when average citizens are going to have to step up and say, enough is enough, speak truth to power, and come out and galvanize together and change the powers that be. Because if it's not right, you got to fix it. Now,
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but we don't need to necessarily wait until an election for that to happen, because there are things that have to happen extra governmentally. There are things that have to happen in between elections. So the elections is one particular date, the campaign is one particular time, but day to day, every day, I like to say every day is Judgment Day. Every day you have a choice to make a change. You have a chance to make a change, and you have a choice. So every day you have a choice to make. Every day should be, if you see something that needs to be done better, every day you should be working toward making it better. You shouldn't be waiting until the next election so you can change something. Speak to your elected officials now. Speak to the governmental people now. Speak truth to power now, and you don't have to wait for the election to come about or the campaign to come about, when you know they're going to come around telling you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And demand to hear from them now, because you should hear from anybody who's a representative of yours. You should be able to let them hear you now, and you should hear from them now. You shouldn't have to wait for an election to hear for people who supposedly represent you.
Well, you know, I absolutely, I do understand that, and it does start here now. But my emphasis was on the fact that if things cannot change now, when election times come, if we start now to galvanize now, to rally around each other now, to pick other people to stand up in the forefront in the place of people that we have put in positions of power and who have not came through force, if we start now, if we see the change is necessary now, then when the time comes, we'll be able for change. Now listen again, I ain't talking to anybody in particular. I'm just saying to you, people that are in power, help us. We put you there to help the people. Help the people. And especially, I would say, people like myself from the inner city, the inner community, that we look and we see everything that's going on every day. I tell you, I keep saying this, and I keep saying it to all the powers that be. If we had employment, we would change our condition. If we would go to the streets and offer employment to these kids that are doing these crimes, we would change our condition. If we had apprenticeship training, if we had all the businesses that did work in Buffalo that would come around and that would allow us to have citizens, young men from our communities that go and do these on-the-job training programs and learn on the job, I guarantee you it would change the conditions of our community. You know, instead of continually hiring more police and paying them double time and triple time and quadruple time. That same money we could use for after-school programs, for job training programs. It's very important. And that's why I say to the people, hey, come on, pay attention. Y'all got to pay attention to what's going on. You got to pay attention to what's going on in this circle that they keep putting us in.
I just want to say, when you say about working, there's two things that go hand in hand. One is work, and the other is prayer. You know, that you should pray on your work, and you should work on your prayer. Don't keep them separate, bring them together. And if you work on your prayer and pray on your work, you know, victory is yours. Once you start something, if you don't give up on it, victory is yours. Victory is assured.
And that boils down to faith.
Yes, sir.
It boils down to faith. And faith is so important. Faith in God and faith in each other. You know, faith in that human heart. You know, and that humanness about all of us, you know what I mean? Faith and morality. We just had an election. And in the election, the people stood up and they said, no to money and yes to love. No to power and yes to unity. No to the richest and yes to the majority. The majority spoke out and said that we have to come together and find us somewhere a kumbaya moment where that we could do something to change our condition together. Now the people spoke, they elected Mr. Obama, he's back for another 4 years. Now, let's hope that the Republicans, and I say this specifically, will come together with the Democrats. And remember, an election has been had, an election was won. Now, what you would assume happens is once the party wins, then the other party decides, okay, we're going to let some things happen. We're going to go along with some of the things you're saying. We're going to try some of these new things because the people have said that's what we should do. So, you know, it's very important that you understand that once and that goes back to the elections. Now, Obama's been in, he's in again, right?
Okay, he's had his agenda. Now, what the people, like I say, should do, just like when Bush was in, the Democrats said, okay, we'll go along with some of your plans. We're going to try some of your stuff and see how it works. Whether it worked or not, they tried. And that's what I would say to the Republicans, and this is what I say that's very important. And you pay attention to this, because if they don't try, and if they don't do anything, and if things remain the same, then when it's time for elections, we have to vote those people out and vote in the people that will help to enlist change, that will help to facilitate change. That's why I harp on voting so much. You understand what I'm saying, Mr. Fields?
Yeah, I hear you. And you know, there's a movement out here right now called Count Every Vote, because like I say, through tricks and changes, they have processes where they have historically, and even in this recent last primary election, did not let the will of the people manifest. They tossed people's votes out. They sent people to the wrong voting booths, people who were in charge of directing the people, who were officials and representatives of the Board of Elections, gave people instructions which were incorrect. People followed those instructions, then they tossed out their votes. So every vote is important, and it's important that you count every vote, because there's a very strong possibility that we have at least one election that the person who got the most votes did not get in office. And even that person, when they had a write-in, they got over 10,000 write-in votes. Over 10,000, that's unheard of.
Betty Jean Grant,
over 10,000 write-in votes, and they won't let her right now look at the voting machines, because she actually may have won that election too.
Wow.
Because vested powers, people when they run in elections, they're running for a job. Elections should be outlawed, campaigning should be outlawed once the person gets the job. Once they get the job, their job is to represent all the people, not just those who voted for them, not just those who will help them get in next time. Their job is to take care of the business of the people. If they're only worried about getting reelected and worried about taking care of people who are on their side of the aisle or who think like they think, then they shouldn't have run for the job in the first place, because the job is to represent all of the people, to be the representative of all the people in the district, not just that.
Absolutely, I agree. Now, you know, time is getting a little short here at People Empowerment, so I would say these couple of things before I quit. Listen, if you're interested in becoming a TV producer down here at the Apollo, you need to come down here to the Apollo or either call 881-9300, 881-9300, and see what you can do about becoming an independent producer. See what you can do about taking the classes down here and learning how to be able to use your First Amendment right to free speech on this television venue the way that we do it. We're very passionate about what we do down here. Again, we truly believe that we are accomplishing things through the Producers Alliance. We believe that the city is in effect helping us, and we would hope that Mayor Brown also, if you listen to Mayor Brown, I would say to you, would you please come and sit down with us and go into council with us? Would you please come and have some communication with us? Very cordial dialogue. We don't want to combat you. As a matter of fact, we love you. I love the things you've been doing. You've been a great leader, the first black leader in the city. You've done a lot of things. I just believe truly in my heart that there's some more things that perhaps you have overlooked that possibly you could help us do, that we could help you do, that would help our people. Now, when I say our people, I say our black people, because you are black like me, Buffalo's first black mayor. Again, we're very proud of that. But as a black man, just like when we elected Obama, we look at you because we believe that you're going to do certain things above and beyond to help us, because we come from the same blood, from the same soil. Okay? So that's why, Mr. Mayor, that I speak to you directly, and I say to you, come sit down and talk with us. Come sit down and be on my show. Come sit down with the independent producers, and let's mind mail, and let's figure out a way where we can really be productive down at the Apollo and even in our city streets. We have great ideas, and we'd like to help you enlist them. So, you know, I'm Nate Boyd, the host of People Empowerment, telling you out there, listen, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Have a great night.